David, can you tell me a little bit about the background, where your mom grew up?
Yeah, so my mom is Colombian, so she grew up in Bogota, Colombia. Um, we're what I think second generation Colombian, and then she moved here with my
Mhm.
dad. So, and that's a whole interesting cultural difference.
Yeah, so yeah, right. So your dad is American, and your
Yep.
mom is Colombian.
Yep. Yep.
And so you just mentioned to me that so you play guitar and you actually teach. Uh,
Hmm.
Tell me again what you teach because
Yeah. I teach all forms of guitar. I teach bass. I've taught ukulele, although I try not to. And then I dabble with some other instruments because those are fun.
so you give lessons online, right?
Right now, I'm giving them all online. Yeah, I used to
Mhm.
drive out to people, but that's mildly exhausting. So
So
yeah.
I understand. So basically, you love music and you love playing music, and you said that your mom. I guess my question I was gonna. So I want to ask you, how did you get to learn to play music? Who was the influence? Who influenced you to start learning to
Yeah.
play?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always loved music, and what I was telling you is like, I know my mom's got stories of her, me in the womb, and she's sitting there dancing to classical music, which is probably why I like classical music so much. And then just, from being little onward, all I got was just a barrage of all types of music, fortunately good music. And by the time, and my dad also loves music, really smart guy. He played guitar. He's the one who inspired me to play guitar specifically, which is pretty cool. He just sat there and played Malagueña and some Guns N' Roses all the time. Pretty neat. So as I got older, my mom chucked me into violin lessons, and I was playing recitals and all of that silly stuff, which is of course not
When
necessarily what you
you
want to be
can
doing when
I
you're little.
ask you when she took you to sign you up for the violin lessons, did you want to do it? Or was it like she made
Um, Initially, I did, yeah. I think after a couple of years, I was like, I'm really tired of going to this guy's house who has way too many cats that keeps flaring up my asthma just so I can play this song. So I
how
was
old
like,
were
yeah,
you?
probably eight-ish, nine-ish, somewhere in there. So,
Okay, so
you know,
okay, so you wanted to play and then you played a little, and then you kind of did you stop learning? I mean, stop the lesson, so she made you finish and
uh, after a while we stopped, but I kept playing other things for school. I know for a second there, I had like what did I have? I had a sax for a second. And then eventually I started taking guitar lessons in middle school. No, whatever grade you're in when I think it was 15. So high school. So 15, that was about 2 years. And then I kind of stopped taking lessons. I always kind of kept playing on my own. And then I just was self-taught from that point forward, which was kind of nice. And then I ended up getting my first job teaching at Hogtown Music, in fact. And then, yeah, been teaching ever since on my own because
yeah,
I
the
make more
reason
money
I'm
that way.
asking you is because there's in developmental psychology, there's always this question of nature nurture, whether
Right,
something
right.
influencing you, is it genetics or is it the environment? So um it sounds like there
Well,
was a combination here, right? Your mom loved
yeah,
music
yeah,
and
for
then she
sure.
made you but it
Well, just
seems like
to make things
yeah.
slightly more confusing, right? To maybe push the genetic front even more. My whole family loves music. They don't necessarily play instruments, but they're moved pretty deeply by music in the same way that I am. And I've kind of noticed that with people, especially when you're teaching, is some people are just deeply moved by music.
Mhm.
Everyone has that happen every once in a while, but sometimes it's for people, it's like a really serious part of your life, and that's not necessarily the case with everyone. So I assume it's some weird convoluted mix of the
Mhm.
two. But I feel like there's something in there that's also more than likely genetic because it's just a love I've had
Mhm.
forever. So
But it's
yeah,
also it's dedication, I guess. It's not enough just to like it. You really kind of have
right.
to uh, I mean it's
And I
work
think
going to play.
right. And I think that kind of goes back though to my desire to be goal oriented, which
Hmm.
is like a pretty potent force for me. Which is like if I can do a thing, that's extremely satisfying. So it's like okay, and each one of these things can be broken down into smaller measurable goals. It's like, hey, I learned this one thing, or I learned this one part of the song, or I learned this. And so it just kind of builds. And so I think that's also something to chuck into that mix of trying to figure out why that's the case. So doing the work, it was also relatively enjoyable.
It sounds like you also like to see the end product. Like for you, it's like it's a goal oriented, but also like you have to see the end result, I guess. Is that something?
Yeah, I have to see some sort of growth. Otherwise, the motivation just tanks. So yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.